Fast and furious talks this afternoon is Building Canaries with ELK and ElastAlert. Please give AndrewJanuszak and Keith Erickson a warm ShmooCon welcome.
Hello, thank you for coming to our talk. This is Building Canaries with ELK and ElastAlert. We're going to talk about us quickly, talk about what Canaries and Canary tokens are, ELK, discuss what ElastAlert is and what it means, our implementation, observations, final thoughts, and some resources for you. So about us, we're part of a systems engineering team working in higher ed. We manage, monitor, and secure our infrastructure, and we do purple teamy stuff in our spare time for fun.
Yeah, it turns out it's a lot more fun when you don't have to do the boring parts like the paperwork and the reporting.
So Canary tokens, for those who may not be familiar, Canaries or Canary tokens or honey tokens, there's many different names. We consider them low effort, high gain, blue team / defense tools. They can be fake resources or assets used to alert when something's been accessed or utilized or requested that shouldn't be. That's kind of like one definition. There's many different types and ways you can use them, but for example, you can create like a fake domain admin account that you never use and you never expect anybody else to use it, but as soon as you see somebody does use it, you're like, okay. You can create fake documents, like a fake payroll spreadsheet that would be kind of just very high stakes, high value to somebody who'd be interested in that data. Fake API keys, lots of different things. Not a honeypot per se, but the concept is the same. Things like decoys, stuff like that. Keith's going to talk about ElastAlert.
So in our implementation, we specifically used an ELK stack. If you're not familiar with it, Elasticsearch is sort of the data storage layer. It's a document store, the search engine, Logstash, kind of your Swiss Army knife of logging data. Kibana is the data visualization layer that you can make pretty dashboards and such. Mostly we use it for centralized log searching, billions and billions of records. But I do want to emphasize that you don't need an ELK stack to do something like this. We took this approach because we already had an ELK stack in place and it's the easy way out. You could probably do this just with Logstash, or if you had some other log store, you might be able to do it with Splunk or Loki or something like that. It does need to be event-driven, right? Because you need to act on it quickly, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it can't be the sort of thing where you get a report the next morning that you've had canary hits. You need to get it in real time. And then we use ElastAlert 2. The original ElastAlert was abandoned, and somebody forked it into a drop-in replacement for ElastAlert 2. So everywhere we mention ElastAlert, we're actually talking about version 2. So it's a framework that runs queries for you against Elasticsearch and then can alert on them, as the name suggests, right? And you do configure with Lucene queries, which is sort of different. The ELK stack is moving towards a different query language in the data viz layer, but you must use Lucene with ElastAlert. And it supports a whole bunch of different alerting plugins or backends, so you can send messages to various message platforms. You can make Jira tickets. You can just send emails. You can, I don't know, PagerDuty, et cetera. And then configuring ElastAlert is just straight YAML. This is an example of an ElastAlert rule that looks for logs that say, hey, you missed a new line in your cron entry. I'm not going to run it, which has saved quite a few of our colleagues. In this case, it just sends an email to, well, to a list that goes to a bunch of people. It can be this simple. We happen to have written a layer on top of it to generate these rules from other things, but you could just write straight YAML and achieve this with the Canaries.
So we had, or I'll speak for myself, I had initially learned about Canaries from Black Hills InfoSec, or Information Security, their blog and their YouTube channel. Thank you, BHIS. Also, thanks to Jacob Torrey for last year's, the 2023. He had a ShmooCon talk.
I think it was actually in this room. Yeah.
That's cool. His talk was called Putting on a Big Show, Defending by Attacking Attacker Incentives. We were super inspired by this talk, and I'm 100% positive. It was the catalyst when we came back from ShmooCon to start looking into it and doing this type of work, from our perspective, just kind of like planning out, we chose not to go with Canary as a surface option. That's something that's out there. We already have lots of fun and exciting tools and infrastructure that we control, so we just decided to use what we had. And as you can guess, we landed on ELK and ElastAlert too. We could do it with what we had. But the question was, is this going to provide any real value, or is it just going to give us like alert fatigue and we're just some additional thing that we're going to have to toil over? So that was a big question. So we created various types of canaries that generate taggable events in ELK, and then ElastAlert 2 can trigger on these events. The implementation was really simple. We just tested our canaries over and over again to see the fields, what fields of events and logs were distinct and repeatable and actionable, stuff that would definitely trigger for us and that would be clear that, get us closer to having real results and not false positives. But tuning was and continues to be required for the FPs. And tuning is just simply a matter of like refining the Lucene query or just playing around with your ElastAlert search, basically. But we would definitely see false positives from translation services, search engines, test servers, accessibility tools. And this was for internet-facing stuff. This wasn't like, none of these things were triggering alerts for like a domain administrator account, obviously. But you definitely saw some odd but harmless user behavior. The nice thing about kind of like the stack is that we can just go back and look at the logs and the events and really figure out, do we need to look at them further? Is this real? What's the surrounding data? We got just a ton of helpful info from the stack. And then, where we get the notification wherever we want, Slack, email, wherever. It's just super convenient. This is an example of, a triggered Slack alert pushed to our Slack workspace. And it's actually it was the start of a phishing and credential harvesting campaign. And if you notice the date, I don't know how well you can see it on the screen. This happened the day after Thanksgiving. So nobody's around. Everybody's out. And this particular alert, this was generated because we decided to embed some stuff in some of our pages that were being cloned. And just simple JavaScript one-liner that did some domain verification, validation. And
right, so what it's doing here is showing us what the referring page is, which we've determined to be critical in finding out where the fish is actually being hosted. So it's pretty simple to write a couple lines of JavaScript that send you the refer and the current URL when your login page is loaded not on your own domain. We promised our security team we wouldn't show exactly how it was done, but I didn't say I wouldn't tell you how it was done, and they might be watching, so sorry.
You can always you can come talk to us after the talk if you have more questions.
You could probably find our login page with the hint that's on this slide and just look at the source and figure it out yourself.
This is just another example of, this is just an email alert triggered on a specific Windows event ID for a specific user account. You can probably take a guess at what type of account it would be. Just another example. In terms of observations, we got the most bang for the buck from just the canaries on our sites. We saw phishing credential harvesting campaigns pop up around holidays and breaks, which told us they're obviously looking at our calendar. They typically would send a test from their IP first to make sure their site works, which was a really nice heads up for us. We could just put them on a DNS deny list for our on-campus users. Off-campus users, they'd eventually hit it. We'd see the alert, and then we could just filter out the email and kind of just put an end to stop the campaign.
Right, so we used to find the fish after the fact, after it had already gone out and somebody reported they got it, and then we could block the domain. Now we're able to intercept those by putting an email filtering so they never even get delivered to users' inboxes. So it's really sped up our response and a huge improvement. Good.
Some more interesting stuff. We saw bad actors actually de-obfuscate code and still include it in their harvesting site. So some are actually looking at code. And if you choose to do this, be creative. You can be as creative as you want, and I encourage creativity in this. It's actually kind of fun. Thinking about hiding or redirecting calls to things that would give away your canaries. Other actors were just lazy and just copied and cloned the site, and that was it. I also saw some others combine code from various orgs. So one org's site and another org's like MFA prompt, which is really weird. They were just Frankensteining stuff together. Some final thoughts. Any skepticism or pushback we got was immediately dissipated after we started seeing results and reduced false positives, which was really nice. Tuning your queries may be necessary depending on what types of canaries you create, where you put them. And just a friendly OPSEC reminder, maybe don't poke around an open C2 or backend phishing page from your org's network.
Hypothetically, you might find an admin interface or a web shell that would let you delete all of their harvested credentials. Or you might find phishing pages for other organizations that you could just delete, hypothetically. But don't do that.
You'll definitely see some weird stuff. You'll be asking questions like, why are users saving my login page locally?
Yeah, we would get a few hits where the referral was like C:users, somebody, desktop, login.html. What are you doing?
And like, why is somebody logging or embedding our login form in a Google Doc? You're going to see weird stuff. It will be interesting. Here's some resources to help you if you have any, if you want to get started. Elastic.co, ElastAlert 2. Thinks Canary has a lot of great info. I definitely started there. Check out the BHIS YouTube channel. And again, Jacob Torrey's talk from last year. It's on archive.org. And also Sean Metcalf's AD security blog. He had a great post on curb roasting detection. And that's it. Thank you.